Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Business Plugs Mixer. Thank you all for joining. Go ahead and like and share. And I know you guys got your head in the game, but they've already had the kickoff. And so we're going to find out lots of luck to both Kansas City and to the Eagles. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the Business Plug. You've just tuned in to business conversations by business people for business people. And today I'm excited about my guest. We're going to talk about his startup story and how he got to be who he is today. So I'm going to welcome him in just a minute. But before I get to that, I'm going to tell you two things. If you are interested in government contracting and you want to get your business set up so that you can start getting into government contracting, then please reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. And I know. People are like, well, so much is happening and so much is happening. But here's the one thing that my people, the people that I consider to be my experts tell me, that never, ever, ever has the government been able to function fully without government contracts. So even in those despair times, even in the ups and downs and all the arounds, government contracting is still happening. People are still getting paid, and you should get paid too. Also, if your business, if you have an LLC and you're trying to get your business up and running, like the reports say like 90% of LLCs are not compliant. Well, if you're ready to get your business compliant in 2025, the link is wherever you're watching this. Come and reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. My 360 business assessment is helping businesses next level very quickly, and you want to be a part of that. Now, with all that said and done, all my housekeeping to keep my team happy, I'd like to introduce you to my guest. Hey, James. I'm not going to mess up your name. I'm going to let you say it yourself. Hey, James.
That's how most people do it. It's Mataczynski.
I'm not going to chop that up.
Yep. Or a lot of people like to say Mr. James. I get a lot of Mr. James.
So thank you for your yes. Thank you for coming on the show. So tell my followers, my group of people, my little network of people, who you are and what you do.
Well, it's not so little anymore, Linda. It's getting bigger and bigger. I keep watching
growing.
those numbers go up. That's awesome.
It is growing. I love it.
Well, my name is James Mataczynski. I'm on here for my founder story of my startup, Craft Crate. So Craft Crate essentially is making bag and box for beer, so boxed wine but for beer. And I've got a brewery project to so it's not really a project, it's a full-blown business, the brewery business that I have supporting this, and a lot of loved ones in my life helping support this, just like Linda. So
yeah. I love it. So we met on the blocks. We are both bloxers. Yeah. And so we're both in blocks.
Can you believe it was almost 10 months ago already? Like coming up on, it's just like, oh my God.
I know it. That went fast. That went real
way
fast.
Too fast. Way too fast.
Yeah. But it was a great time, a wonderful experience. A wonderful experience. I got to meet people like you.
Yeah. And we still meet weekly, and we still talk about business. We still support each other, and I forget who said it. It was like their therapy group, and I'm like, yep. Every business there's shit out there shaking their head right now. You need a support group. You need a therapy group to just get you through the week. Some weeks,
Absolutely. It's a big part of my week. It is definitely a big part of my week. So we're going to start talking about, how did you get to be in Craft Crate? How did that even become a thing? Because that's not where you started.
That's not where I started. No. Do you want me to go all the way back to the beginning?
No, all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah, if you don't know where to start, go back to the beginning, right? That's how it works. Let's see. Born and raised Central Wisconsin, Wausau. I don't know if anybody's tuning in from Wausau, but yeah, essentially, I was born and raised like, you will be an engineer. We don't care the discipline, but you will be an engineer, right? Like my grandpa, dad's side of the family, so very patriarchal in that sense. He was the first generation born in America, first college generation. Graduated from UW-Madison. And my dad and his two brothers graduated from UW-Madison, and then my grandpa's grandkids. So there's 9 of us. 6 of the 9 are all engineers.
Wow, it's in your blood.
It's in the blood. Yeah. Like, if I wasn't traveling, doing sports, doing extracurricular activities, things like that, I was at home I can't sit still. I was at home building stuff. There was a lot of times Dad would like to do the same thing. I'm kind of noticing that now in my 30s. I'm like, oh yeah, I am a lot like my dad. A lot of scrap material around. I'm like, Dad, let's go build a fort. So we go into the backyard. Let's build a fort with the scrap screws. You have 5 different heads of screws and all the. We made a fort. So that's the sort of stuff that I just did. And so.
I love that.
So we had an excellent STEM program at my high school. There was a welding, machine shop, CAD, 3D modeling. We did some like tensile testing, some breaking stuff, and see how it broke and why it broke, things like that. And so I actually took all of that knowledge. I went to started out at Kettering University. It used to be General Motors Institute.
Yeah.
So all the big automotive companies CEOs are from GMI, or what they knew as GMI, now Kettering University. So I took all that knowledge and I applied it to the first year, and I didn't have to. It was just like high school the first year, right? First semester, it was like you could show up and get a halfway decent grade. It wasn't an A, but it wasn't failing. So I'm like,
Yeah.
let's go. This is going to be easy. No one actually had to start learning, and man, did I get my butt kicked.
I love it.
And it really, I slogged through. I mean, I told you the story, in the green room about how I failed Calc 2, I think 6 times. But it didn't stop me. Did not stop me. Can't stop, won't stop. Did not stop me. But that trend of getting my butt kicked did not stop even when I got into a professional engineering role. So I actually, my first real end, I had a ton of co-op experience, all the way down in Naples, Florida, Warsaw, Indiana, Minneapolis, Duluth. I think that was the major cities. Anyway, Madison, I got a co-op in Madison, but most of that, it was the same thing. I didn't recognize the pattern, but it was the same thing. So when I got my actual engineering job out here in Colorado, north of Denver in Longmont, working for a medical device company, I was just like, yes, I can finally build my Iron Man suit. I've always wanted to do. This is going to be awesome. And 95% of my job was was on Microsoft Word, justifying the design that I did. Oh God, it was brutal. It was brutal. It was brutal. One of my first solo projects I did was impact. It was impact testing for cochlear devices, right? So people with implanted hearing aids, they need to work. It can't shatter if they fall down, get hit in the head, whatever. So I remember doing like basically just a really, really simple equation, but then trying to figure out okay, how much variance, if this one variable is variance by X amount, how does that change our final result? Yeah. And I skipped over gravity, right? Gravity, 9.81 meters per second squared. That's it. I skipped over. I'm like, there's no change in gravity, none whatsoever. And I presented my paper to my boss, and he goes, "You forgot gravity." I was like, what do you mean I forgot gravity? He goes, I want to know if there's a change in gravity, how it's going to change your end result. I'm like, there isn't a change. Like, God, we're not in space. This isn't Star Trek. Like, come on. And then that's the moment I knew. I was just like, I'm done. I can't. I can't. I solved the problem. I need to move on to the next thing. I can't. So. Yeah, that's how I got into. That's actually how I got into brewing.
So you got a beer?
Yeah, brewing. Yeah, I went home and I had a beer. That was the day, or maybe it was shortly after I quit fired. I'm sure there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that can really, I don't know, really relate to the quit fire situation where they're like, yeah, you're fired. No, I quit. No, you're well. I won't see you tomorrow.
Either way.
So, either way. So, I went home, had a beer. My landlord saw the light was on, comes knocks on the door. He's like, hey, you're never home this early. Is everything okay? He was a really, really sweet guy. He was just like, yeah. He's like, okay, how early do you get up? I'm like, I can get up whenever. He's like, be up 4 a.m. Come to work with me. So, okay, I'll come to work with you, whatever. So I went to work with him at Tivoli Brewing Company, which is the second oldest location in the nation that has a brewery. And so behind Yingling, you know, I'm sure East Coasties know Yingling. Yingling's the oldest brewery. This is the second oldest brewery
Okay.
location here in Denver. And I walked in and I fell in love with it. I'm like, this is what I went to school for. This is it. I'm solving problems every day using my degree. Now it annoyed the brewers because I could get down, you know, to
To the
the
middle of
decimal
something.
point. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the finite details of, you
Yeah.
know, a lot of the heat transfer and a lot of, you know, the fluid dynamics, even some of the chemical stuff. And it would really tick them off. But I was like, I'm here. Let's do this. Let's do this.
I
So
love
I
that.
actually started on the packaging line, and all I did was I took individual cans and I put them in the machine one at a time, 12-ounce cans for 6 hours, 8 hours at a time. It was brutal, but that's how you get started. That's how I got started. You know, eventually got into brewing. Actually, my first batch of beer was 30 barrels, which a barrel of beer is 31 gallons. So we're talking 900 gallons of beer. And that was only a third of the tank that I filled up. So, I mean, it was a huge operation, is where I started
Yeah.
again as a co-op, as an intern. Eventually when I, you know, that was actually right before COVID. And the month or the week before the country shut down, I got an offer letter from my last boss. Obviously, I took the job and it worked out. And he kept me on through COVID. And it was actually really nice because I was able to go really slow, which was a total opposite for me. I'm like fast, 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 fast. He's like, slow down. I don't care if it takes you 6 hours to clean one tank that takes me an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. You're going to do it in 6 hours. Okay, fine. I'll do 6 hours. So that's kind of how I got my start. And when we started getting big enough, we started running into a problem where we couldn't actually start, you know, we could make more beer than what we were selling. And it was all
Mhm.
really good beer. Again, middle of COVID, we're like, we got to figure out another revenue stream. And the only thing that we could think of was packaging our beer into cans, right? So
Mm.
Denver being a big enough beer hub, packaging hub, we'd actually have mobile canners come in, right? So they just drive up in like this big box truck, think like U-Haul, unload the canning line, can our beer, pack it up, and leave. And as they were doing this, I was like, man, there's a ton of inefficiencies here. And so that's when my engineering brain again started to go. And I had a professor in college that was like, do not repeat, do not try to like improve upon the aluminum can. It is perfect. And I was just thinking to myself, challenge accepted. Most engineers would be like, okay, move on. On me, I'm like, no, nothing is ever perfect. You're always constantly trying to get better. You're always, you know, kaizen, I think, is the Japanese for
Exactly.
continuous
Exactly.
improvement.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So kaizen, you know, I've thought about getting tattoos, but I'm a kaizen, but I'm weird about it. I don't know. I can't do it. But kaizen always, you know, continuous improvement. And so I came up with the idea of, if, you know, if we could get this liquid into like this perfect square, put it on liquor store shelves, you know, you're gonna have this, like, there's not going to be any wasted space. That's where I started. And then I
Mm.
went, wait, that exists in boxed wine. Why
Mm.
doesn't that exist in boxed beer? Right. And so that's, and then my man, I spent hours up on that brew deck just like designing stuff in my head as I'm brewing beer.
I love it. I love it though, how things like layer up, right? Like really
It just
thinking
layered
about it.
on itself. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
did. So then I decided to more or less take a leap. I got to the point where I'm just like, I've got the idea, I've got the concept, I've got the napkin calculations. Let's go. So essentially what I came up with in a nutshell, that we're actually patent pending on, it should be issued any month now.
I love
We're in the
that.
months, weeks and months now, not years that it should be issued. But essentially, if you think about it, just a giant water balloon, right, full of carbonated beverage. Well, if there's no pressure on it, the water balloon is just going to explode.
Right.
So we have a patent on, you know, as the liquid gets dispensed out of this water balloon, it it the whole
It
packaging
collapses.
system collapses and
Yeah.
doesn't let it come back out of solution. So there's
Oh.
always it's a perfect pour, start to finish. And I mean, you want to talk about, you don't have $100,000 plus of canning machine, and that's like entry level canning machining equipment. You don't have the space that it takes up. You don't have the waste of product. A good story is being in Colorado, and Coors is right here, right? Coors wastes more beer packaging than what a lot of craft breweries will make in an entire year. And
Wow.
I was just like, man, there's just so much waste. And then when it is packaged, or if it's not packaged right, it oxidizes and it goes bad within, days or weeks versus
Yeah.
months, like kegs. So I came
And
up
that's
with this
important
idea.
to beer drinkers.
Very, very important, right? So like when you aerate wine, you actually want it to oxidize to pull out some different flavors, right? Beer, you don't want that at all. You want zero oxygen. You want as nice foamy beer, no oxygen. You want to have all these aromatics from all your different ingredients and things like that. And so I came up with this perfect package. Essentially, it's perfect packaging for beer. And that's kind of how I got started. And had an engineer, made a wrong hire, and an engineer. The engineer got me at least to the patent, but didn't give me anything else. And so I kind of had to pivot, as most entrepreneurs do. You
That
got to
part.
pivot. You got to think about, okay, how do I get this thing from idea to product, right? And I'm like, okay, right, it's just money. I have all the knowledge. I have everything. I just need the money.
Yeah.
So I decided that I was actually going to buy my local brewery. So with, next to nothing, I actually just assumed their debt and covered some attorney fees. And I bought the local brewery. And so
Wow.
we're making our own beer. We're up 25% from the previous owners. Yeah, we're on pace
I
to do it
like
again.
it.
Yeah, we're on pace to do it again, actually in a big way. Do it again. So I'm like, okay, brewery's running. I've got the technical skills. I've got the idea. I've got the engineer or the entrepreneurial chops, or I'm building that at least. I'm getting the reps in. Now, what's it going to take to go out and get this money for Craft Crate? And I'm like, okay. So Simone Spence was a judge on the
One of
block
our
series.
judges. Yeah.
She's a total badass. She's amazing. She was doing something in the tech space that I'm kind of doing in my space. Essentially, she has zero technical background, but she was able to raise a ton of money, launch her company, and sell it for, her words, wheelbarrows of cash. And so I got some coaching from her, got everything ready, and recently I started pitching to different investors, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think the best case scenario happened to me. I've been getting no's left and right, like no, 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 you don't meet our criteria, not a good fit, da 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 da. And so right now I'm like, okay, how do I get this? How do I get this going? And I think what we're settled on now is, let's figure out how to raise, this much money, not this much money, and figure out how to get a product that we can sell at the brewery, and then get that going. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we went back to the drawing board on what's the cheapest MVP that makes sense for us to sell at the brewery. And so that's kind of where we're at right now, is we're just looking to raise just a couple $1,000. It's not even going to be that much.
Oh,
Not compared to the
wow.
1.5 million that I think, well, probably eventually going to need, but not right this second.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Well, look, I've always found T-shirts and hats to be lucrative.
yes, yes. Or pitch competitions. That's the other
Exactly.
thing. I had no idea pitch competitions were a thing. And there's a
Oh, wow.
huge startup scene here in Denver. And I'm like, pitch competition,
Yes.
So that's what I'm excited about.
Where you and you could use the shirts and hats with
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
like
Yep.
different souvenirs.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yep. Yep.
Well, yeah. So it's a whole thing. But
It
yeah, but that's,
is.
I mean, those I've done several community minded, civil minded events, and T-shirts have always gotten me from nothing to something.
To something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. And we do have a merch designer for the brewery.
Yeah.
I'll have to reach out to them. They're awesome. They're local family, local business. I just love supporting the local stuff.
I
It
do
just makes a
too.
lot of sense.
I do
Yeah.
too. I do too. I went to a resale shop here a couple of days ago. A lady that I met at an event. She's one of my followers, but we'd never met face to face. And as luck would have it, as time would have it, we sat at the same table at this banquet. And I told her, I said, "Well, I'll come by and see you." And so I went and did a whole video of her store and things. And awesome thing, bought a chair, bought a chair. Because I'm all about support, and support comes in money for small business.
Yes.
Just in case any of you want to know, it comes in money.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. There's a resale shop, and every time we get a new beer, they get a new beer glass in. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's mine. Dibs.
Exactly. Because that's how support is lucrative. So that's how you do it. But but I love that. So somebody who is in like you, engineering is a lucrative field. Let's admit, my third, like I told you, my third granddaughter just graduated with her master's in engineering. So it's a lucrative field, but that's not your field. Like that whole pivot thing to find who you are and still use the attributes you've established going through your education.
Yeah.
Like what advice would you give them?
Oh, that's a great point. I think anybody that has any sort of formal education, and I don't care what major it is, right? It could be theater, it could be accounting, it could be whatever, right? What you're going to school for is, yes, potentially to get into a field that you're studying. That's 100% the obvious goal, right?
Right.
But you need to understand what the skill set is underneath of the end goal of getting a job, right? If you're an accountant, right? I'm just going to pick an accountant because it's just top of mind. It's tax season, right? So like if you're an accountant, I gotta file my taxes. We're doing okay. But but if you're an accountant, sometimes yes, you can get into that accounting field and you can put in, that 5, 6, whatever, however many years you can put up with it. But inside of that field, inside of that job, you're going to find problems. And when you find those problems, how are you going to solve those problems, right? So the one obvious example that I thought of was I just had a really good conversation with a couple of CPAs, right? And they're like, yeah, I was an accountant. Obviously, starting with an accountant, you go into the CPA. I did the accountant thing. I did the CPA thing. They're like, but in some of these big firms, it wasn't personalized enough, and small businesses were missing out on tax dollars that they probably could have gotten back. Right? But if you're hired to be an accountant, you're not you won't have the time inside of your job to then fix those problems. So when you're in the job, go to school, get the job. I did. It was only 8 months, but I went to school, I got the job, then figure out what ignites you. What about that job, that niche down? What about that job gets you just really fired up, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what you should pursue, right? And if it is accounting and you want to go higher level, and that's what you love to do, that's perfect, But if you find those small problems inside of your job, that there's probably a job out there for that, right? And so that's what I would say to go do. If you're in the entrepreneur, right, inside of a career, inside of a company versus an entrepreneur like us, you could also find these problems and go to entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Be an entrepreneur is
be a
say,
resource.
Hey, I found this really tiny niche, but it's got a huge potential.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. It's what gets you fired up. It's what gets you up in the morning. If you've got to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and roll out of bed, you should figure out what in your day gets you fired up, and it gets you fired up and gets you going.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that because that feeds your soul. Like that.
It does.
You look forward to seeing it. You look forward to doing it. I'm addicted to that light bulb that goes off when people, if you look at my logo at the top, the light is on because I'm addicted to when people get it, how they brighten up, because I can see it. And I just want to do that all my life. Is just see people lighten up, like get it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, life's too short to hate your 9 to 5. You can hate aspects of it, right? You can even hate some potentially coworkers. Don't tell them. Be nice to your coworkers. But and there's gonna be suck in your life. There's gonna be suck, but you have to understand that with that, try to minimize that. Know it's going to be there, or sometimes you got to push through it because you know it's going to be best on the other
Exactly,
side.
because on the other side of it, because it always come with a better plan,
Yes.
or a lesson, right? So, because
Right.
even on your hardest days, you learn something about yourself, and you learn how to find the solution. Being an entrepreneur is we find solutions.
Oh
Like
yeah.
other people see problems, we see, okay, yeah, that is interesting. Now, how can I make that into a profit or fine tune so it doesn't happen again? Like,
Exactly. Yeah,
always
exactly.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, fall in love with that no. Fall in love with the no. Fall in love with the micro losses, because that's what's gonna. Because once you solve those little problems, it's gonna open up doors to those much bigger, tougher problems, but opportunities and those light
Opportunities.
bulbs like you're talking about.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
fall in love with the no. Fall in love with the micro loss, because you'll get macro wins that way.
That's it. That's it. And that is how you craft the life that you love. That is
Exactly. That's how
exactly
you
how
get.
you craft it.
That's exactly how you craft life.
That's exactly how you do it. That's the whole thing. That's what all of this is about. Like it's a brewery story, and yeah, it's an engineering story, and yeah, but at the end of the day, it's about crafting the life that you love. How do you get to there from wherever you are? Like,
Yep, exactly. I mean, we do that. Doing this on a micro scale of, okay, I want to brew this style of beer, right? That's
mm,
and then you backfill all the way down to, what sort of grain, what sort of hops, what sort of even your water profile, right? You can get down to the very minutia. Then you have to execute and then measure once you get back up there. So that I mean, that's in once I realize it's, that sort of back calculating is more than just for your brewing process, it's for your everyday life,
it
right? It's
is.
just like, cool, I want to have those six-pack abs, right? Okay, how do I get there? Well, I should probably maybe go to the gym. Well, okay, that's not doing it. Maybe I should eat more. Okay, or eat differently. Okay, now I should
Differently, yeah.
maybe I should take supplements. Maybe I should get better sleep. Maybe I should be less stressed. So maybe I've got to take a day off. Like I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss that too. They're,
Self
that
care.
self-care. Yeah, we were just
Absolutely.
talking about that too. How I took yesterday off. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm not done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my Mondays and my Fridays are my self-care days. Like,
Yes.
yeah, because I get to kind of slow things down, right? But you need that. Like, that's very important. I love that people create smart goals. Everybody smart goals, smart goals, smart goals. But what gets you to the goal, the win, is having those tactical practices behind it.
Exactly. Because motivation is never there when you need it, right? It's not. Motivation sucks. It's just you could
Self
be flipping.
motivation definitely isn't.
It's not. Isn't you go on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and you're using the six-pack ab analogy, you're just like, oh yeah, I can do this tomorrow. I'm gonna get a good night's sleep and start the thing, and then you don't open your phone and you go have a bowl of Captain Crunch or something. You're just like, this isn't my motivation from yesterday is gone. Like either then you got to spend time to find the no. You're exactly right. Get the tactical goals down
The
and be
intentionality. I love it.
and hit that uh be disciplined, be so scary disciplined that
Yeah.
everybody's like, whoa, scares other people how disciplined you are. That's where you get there, and I'm still working on that. I think everybody's still
Oh,
working on
it's a daily thing, right?
that.
Because the thing about having obstacles in the beginning, like they tend to get stronger. So
Yeah.
like the,
Yes.
the things that the walls you run into today are not like the walls you ran into when you started, right?
That's
'Cause
true.
those things
Yeah.
become, you can jump those now. You have to bring those on. But the ones the ones that put
Those are
us
made out of paper. I'm running
yeah,
through concrete now, baby.
exactly. 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 That's the thing. That's the thing. But as you grow, you get stronger and you get more resilient. And then you put people around you who support that effort.
Yeah, I mean that's I know it's 5:30 now, 5:30 my time now, but that's a whole nother thing, is putting the people around you. I mean, I'm still learning that, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you. So if you have one thing that you want anybody that's watching this interview to take away from it, what is your one point? And then I'll close.
Don't stop. That's um I think it was, I mean, Nike is, just do it, right? Just do it. I mean, they summed it up, and they're just don't stop. Like if you see a goal and you're fixated on the goal, don't stop, right? I'm going on year 4 of this startup journey, and you think it's going to be easy. Um, you don't want it to be easy. That was one thing my football coach always said. And he's just like, we don't want it easy,
No.
right? Because when it's easy, then it just doesn't. Victory isn't as good.
And you don't grow.
And you don't grow. And you
Yeah.
don't grow. There's no such thing as easy money. There's no such thing as an easy business. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as an easy life. I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, even if you come from money, or there's nothing easy. So just don't stop. Just find a goal, fixate on it, make sure that's the goal that you want, because you'll find out real quick if that's the goal that you want. If you get beat upside the head and then you're like, oh, that's too hard, well, then it probably wasn't the goal. Change your goal.
Choose your heart, right? Yeah.
Just find the thing, do the thing. That's what I guess what I'm trying to say.
I love it. So thank you for your yes, and I do appreciate this conversation. My name is Linda Murray Bullock. They call me the business plug. I just plugged you into Craft Crate Brewery and Mr. James.
Mr. James, that's me.
Join us next Sunday here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Business Plugs Mixer. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Linda.